What's going on, folks? Ike here once again. Tonight, I just wanted to talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. What exactly are they? Why are they in the news so much? Everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, people are talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And a few years ago, I looked into it and I never thought it was a good investment. So I never invested into it until I want to say the beginning of this year. I put some money into it. The value shot up to 60,000 per Bitcoin. I bought some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and the value really shot up. I got a good return on my investment. And right when it was about to hit 60,000, when it hit 60,000, I ended up selling it because I figured it was a bubble and it's probably going to burst. Based on what's going on right now with the Bitcoin, it dropping, I kind of feel like I made a good move by selling it at 60,000. I still got a very good return on my investment. You know, what exactly is Bitcoin and what is cryptocurrency and what's a blockchain? From my understanding, it's an algorithm. It's a computer algorithm. Everyone who owns Bitcoin gets a ledger, and that ledger has to be updated. And whenever there's some kind of a transaction that happens, the whole blockchain has to be updated. Everybody's ledger has to be updated. And that's where the miners come in. The miners come in and they crunch those numbers and they crunch the algorithm, thus creating Bitcoin. And they use up a ton of energy to do it. There are even these Bitcoin mining farms, people just lining up tons of computers just for that purpose of mining the Bitcoin algorithm, you know, cryptocurrency algorithms. It takes a lot of computing power, a lot of energy. It's really weird because when Bitcoin is created, a ton of energy is spent creating the Bitcoin and mining the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just digital. It's just a bunch of ones and zeros, and it's a blockchain which can't be hacked. And it's very secure in that sense because of the blockchain. But other than that, what gives Bitcoin its value? Value of something is very touchy and weird. I mean, you could have a turd. If enough people think that turd has value, it has value. And something like Bitcoin, which is essentially, you know, to me, it looks like some kind of a computer virus is what it is. It's a computer virus that's generating these Bitcoins, and enough people in the world think those Bitcoins have value, and thus now it's up to it was up to 63,000 and now it's down to like 50,000. But what gives it that value? It's just enough people out there saying that it has a value. You know, people like the fact that it's not connected to any central government. They see it as an alternative to regular currencies like, you know, the American US dollar or the euro or the British pounds. And so there's a lot of people that are just investing in it to maybe hedge against inflation, because only certain amounts of Bitcoin can be mined at once. And it's not like a regular currency where you could totally print as much as you want, and that'll make the value of the currency go down and cause inflation. That's the upsides to Bitcoin versus a regular currency. And all the people who are Bitcoin fanatics, they like calling all the other currencies fiat currencies because they're like, hey, there's nothing backing it. So therefore, it's a fiat currency because we lost that gold standard and there's nothing backing it, and government just keeps printing it. It's constantly going to be losing value, and they call it a fiat currency. And they are right to some extent, but Bitcoin is even more fiat than the fiat currency because there's no guarantees at all. It's so risky because the only reason it has value is because enough people say it has value. If you have a discrepancy with Bitcoin, or you have your Bitcoin gets hacked or stolen or something happens, you got nobody to complain to. You just got to eat that loss. There's people out there that have Bitcoin that from the beginning that they forgot their codes. I mean, what happens to that Bitcoin? It just disappears somewhere, you know? I was reading an article about somebody in Germany who was incarcerated for fraud or something like that. The guy put all his money in cryptocurrencies, and the government couldn't confiscate his money because it was tied up in the cryptocurrency. So the government couldn't confiscate his Bitcoins. Now, if you had regular euros, the government could take those because it's associated with the government. That's a plus. You know, if you're doing mafia type stuff where you need to hide some money, I guess you can go put it and buy some Bitcoins and it'll store that money in there for you and probably go up in value. But here's the downside. The downside is if people, because this Bitcoin is just ones and zeros, it's just digital. You're putting money into it. It doesn't generate anything. It doesn't make anything. It's not like a stock. You know, if you buy a stock in Toyota, you know, they make cars. So they're taking your money and they're using it to make a tangible product. There's nothing tangible to Bitcoin. There's no tangible value to it. There's no utility to it. You know, they like to call it digital gold, but gold has some intrinsic value and it has some utility value. It's an element that's pretty useful in so many different industries. So gold has an actual value to it, a utility to it. Bitcoin has none of that. I think the governments are starting to talk about creating their own digital currencies. And, you know, if more and more people start buying into the Bitcoin, that's going to be the world's currency. It's not like the US dollar. Like if you have money in your bank, it's protected. It's got some kind of insurance, FDIC insurance for anything up to like $300,000 or something. I'm not sure the exact number, but your savings is generally backed by the government of the United States. But Bitcoin is not backed by anything. So if the American dollar is fiat currency, Bitcoin is actually super fiat currency. It's ultra fiat because there's literally nobody backing it at all. You know, some governments have made it illegal to mine in certain places. You know, I'd be hypocritical to say it was a bad investment because I put some money in it, generated a very good return on it, and I sold it. I'm not in the cryptocurrency market at all right now because I'm just gonna like hang out and see what happens. And there's like there's thousands of different cryptos out there, cryptocurrencies. There's a coin called the Doggy coin that's really getting a lot of press because it was literally a joke crypto that people just started buying into and the value just started going up. So there are people, you know, who bought that probably for like a penny and then investments shot up maybe like 3,000%. So there's people making money on these cryptos because enough people are saying that it has value. What kind of value does traditional money have? If you look at it, it's paper, you know, but it's got the backing of the government that issued it. Cryptocurrencies do not have that. And cryptocurrencies are not accepted everywhere at this point. So it's not legal tender anywhere. Really isn't. Nobody has to take Bitcoins. So it's in its infancy. Is that going to be the currency of the future? There's a lot of people betting on that. I'm not much of a betting man when it comes to stuff like that, I guess. I like investments that actually produce something tangible for the world. I mean, it's just an ethical thing. You know, if you're just buying Bitcoins that just take a ton of energy to produce and there's really no return, there's no tangible return from all that money that's being invested in the cryptocurrencies, except the fact that it holds value, and it holds value because enough people think it holds value. From there, we could go right into these NFTs that are a thing right now where people are paying for digital art. To authenticate it, they're putting a blockchain up and they're selling art, digital art, NFTs. That's another brand. I want to say that's a spinoff from this whole cryptocurrency thing that's been happening the last decade. There's a very good possibility that it might be the currency of the future. There's a very good possibility that it might just wash out to zero. There's always winners and losers to everything. So if it goes down to zero, people are going to be stuck holding the tab. So very risky. I don't suggest people invest money that they need in cryptos. If you're going to invest in cryptos, you better just assume that you can lose it all. Because you can. I mean, it's happened once before. If you look at the history of cryptos, I want to say around 2017, the Bitcoin dropped like 80% or something like that. So you can lose a ton of money because when it goes down, it goes down. So I was reading about what happened in Turkey, in the country of Turkey. A cryptocurrency exchange basically went offline and the owner fled the country with $2 billion worth of investments, leaving like 300,000 users flat. You got to be careful with the cryptocurrencies. Make sure you know you're buying it from a legit exchange, and make sure you have your actual key codes. You don't own your Bitcoin unless you have the key codes. That's very important. I think the place that most people buy their Bitcoin in the United States is Coinbase, which is a company that just went public, actually. They had an IPO, just went public a couple weeks ago. That's all I got. What do you guys think of cryptocurrencies? What do you think of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, or any other coins out there, XRP and the altcoins and whatever they call these things? Thank you for watching, and I will smell you later.